The command deck of the Resolute Dawn was eerily silent as the broadcast unfolded. The alien announcer's voice carried a mechanical undertone, translating the Zarth language into standard galactic speech. On the massive holoscreen, Earth's president stood on a raised platform surrounded by Zarth enforcers. His face bore bruises, but his gaze was resolute. "This is a message to all those who dare to defy the galactic empire of Zarth," the announcer declared, his tone dripping with contempt. "This human's crimes have been judged, and justice will now be served." Captain Evelyn Drake clenched her fists so tightly that her nails bit into her palms. Around her, the bridge crew watched, some with tears in their eyes, others frozen in shock. The executioner, a hulking Zarth with luminous red eyes, tightened the noose around the president's neck. "Final words?" the alien sneered. The president's voice was steady, unbroken. "Humanity will rise again." The platform beneath him gave way. The silence on the Resolute Dawn was broken by a sharp intake of breath from one of the ensigns. Evelyn's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Turn it off," she ordered. The screen went dark, but the image burned in their minds. She turned to her crew, her voice firm, her presence commanding. "This isn't the end. It's the beginning. They've declared war on humanity, and we'll answer. Not with fear, but with fire." Commander Nathan Cole, her second in command, stepped forward. "Captain, the council will convene soon. They'll want to strategize." His tone carried a weight of unspoken doubt. Evelyn's sharp green eyes locked on him. "Strategize?" she repeated. "The Zarth didn't strategize when they executed our president in front of the entire galaxy. They declared their intentions plain and simple. If we wait, they'll strike first." Cole hesitated. "We can't win a war without careful planning. We can't win a war by doing nothing either," Evelyn snapped. "Get me a channel to Admiral Tyson." The meeting with Admiral Tyson was brief and laced with tension. Tyson, a grizzled veteran with scars that told stories of previous conflicts, listened as Evelyn outlined her plan. She proposed a swift strike on a Zareth supply outpost, a key hub for their fleet logistics. "Risky," Tyson muttered, rubbing his temple. "If you're wrong about this outpost being critical, we'll lose more than just ships." "If I'm wrong, we still send a message," Evelyn countered. "They think we're weak. We need to show them we're anything but." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "Fine. But if this fails, it's on your head, Drake." Hours later, Evelyn stood in the dimly lit ready room aboard the Resolute Dawn. A holographic map of the Zareth-controlled sector hovered before her. She studied it intently, tracing possible routes of attack and calculating risk factors. The doors slid open behind her, and Cole entered. "You're sure about this?" he asked. She didn't look up. "We have to hit them where it hurts. If we cripple their supply lines, we buy Earth time. And if we lose?" Evelyn turned to face him. "Then we die knowing we didn't sit idle while they hanged our leader." Cole sighed but nodded. "The crew's behind you." "I am too." "Good," she said, her voice softening. "Because this isn't just a fight for survival. It's a fight for respect. For freedom." The briefing room was packed with officers and key personnel. Evelyn stood at the front, her presence commanding respect. The hologram of the Zareth outpost rotated slowly in the air above them. "This is our target," she began. "The outpost is a central node for their fleet's supply chain. Without it, they'll struggle to maintain their momentum. Our mission is to infiltrate, disable their defense systems, and destroy their storage facilities." One of the junior officers raised a hand. "Captain, their defenses will be formidable. Do we have intel on their exact capabilities?" "We know enough," Evelyn replied. "Their automated systems are advanced but predictable. We'll use that to our advantage. Timing and precision will be key." As the officers discussed tactics, Evelyn observed her crew. Their faces were tense but determined. They were young, many of them barely out of training, yet they carried the weight of humanity's future on their shoulders. The Resolute Dawn slipped into Zareth-controlled space under the cover of a dense asteroid field. The bridge was a hive of quiet activity as the crew worked to keep the ship hidden from enemy sensors. Evelyn stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the viewport. "Status?" she asked. "Shields at maximum. Stealth systems engaged," Cole reported. "Good. Keep us steady." The outpost came into view, a massive structure orbiting a barren moon. Its surface bristled with weapon emplacements and shield generators. Evelyn's pulse quickened, but her voice remained calm. "Begin Phase 1, she ordered. The ship's fighters launched in coordinated waves, their sleek forms darting toward the outpost. They drew the enemy's attention, engaging in dogfights that lit up the darkness of space. Meanwhile, the Resolute Dawn closed in, preparing to deploy its ground teams. Evelyn watched the battle unfold, her jaw tight. "Focus fire on their shield generators," she instructed. "We need that barrier down." The bridge shuddered as the ship took a hit from enemy fire. Sparks flew from a console, and an officer shouted, "Hull breach on Deck 7! Containment protocols active. Stay focused!" Evelyn barked. "Redirect power to forward shields. We're not backing down." As the shield generators on the outpost began to falter, Evelyn allowed herself a small smile. "Prepare the boarding teams. It's time to finish this." The Resolute Dawn drifted closer to the Zarth outpost, now visibly weakened. Its once impenetrable shield generators sparked erratically, failing to cover the structure entirely. Captain Evelyn Drake leaned forward in her chair on the bridge, her voice calm but steely. "Status on their defenses?" "Shields are at 40% and dropping," Ensign Liao replied. "Weapon systems still active, but their accuracy is degrading." Evelyn nodded. "Good. Keep them busy. Deploy the boarding teams." In the ship's hangar bay, soldiers lined up in pristine battlesuits, their visors glowing faintly as they synchronized with onboard systems. Lieutenant Kara Holt, the head of the boarding team, moved down the line, inspecting her troops. Her voice carried a mix of authority and reassurance. "Listen up, everyone. This isn't a drill. Stick to the plan, and we'll be back here celebrating in no time." The clanking of the boarding pod echoed across the hangar as it was secured into position. Evelyn's voice came through the comms, clear and commanding. "Lieutenant Holt, you're good to go. Make it count." "Always do, Captain," Holt replied before stepping into the pod with her team. As the pod launched, a shudder rippled through the Resolute Dawn. Zarth forces had intensified their counterattack. On the bridge, Evelyn gripped the edge of her console. "Evasive maneuvers. Keep us out of their main line of fire," she ordered. Commander Cole, standing at her side, studied the battle with a furrowed brow. "Their reinforcements will be here soon. We'll need to move fast." Evelyn nodded. "We will. Holt's team won't fail." Inside the boarding pod, the atmosphere was tense. The soldiers were silent, their focus on the rapidly approaching outpost visible through their helmet displays. Kara checked her gear one last time before addressing her team. "Our objective is simple: infiltrate, disable their defense systems, and get out. No heroics. We stick to the plan." The pod shuddered violently as it pierced through the outpost's weakened shielding and latched onto an external docking port. The doors hissed open, and the team spilled into the corridor beyond. "Move out!" Holt barked. The Zarth forces reacted quickly. The metallic clang of boots echoed down the hallways as alien soldiers rushed to intercept. The first shots rang out, blue plasma bolts scorching the walls. Kara's team returned fire with precision, their rifles lighting up the dark, industrial corridors. "Watch the left flank!" a soldier shouted as a Zarth warrior emerged from a side passage, his elongated frame moving with eerie speed. Kara dropped him with a single shot to the chest, her movements efficient and unflinching. "Keep pushing," she ordered, leading the team deeper into the outpost. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Evelyn monitored their progress through a live feed from Holt's helmet cam. The chaotic visuals of gunfire and explosions filled the screen, but Evelyn's focus never wavered. "They've breached the second level," she said to Cole. "They're heading for the control room." Cole glanced at the tactical display. The outpost's reinforcements are converging on their position. If Holt's team doesn't take out those defense systems soon, we're sitting ducks. Evelyn's jaw tightened. They'll make it. As if to underscore her words, another volley from the outpost struck the Resolute Dawn, sending a tremor through the ship. Consoles sparked, and an officer shouted, "Direct hit to our port side! Shields holding at 60%. Redirect power from auxiliary systems to shields," Evelyn ordered. "We're not leaving until that outpost is neutralized." In the heart of the Zarth outpost, Holt's team reached the control room, a cavernous space filled with consoles and holographic displays. A dozen Zarth technicians turned in unison, their glowing red eyes widening in alarm. Before they could react, Holt's team opened fire, scattering them. "Secure the room," Holt commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Barricade the doors and get those systems offline." Two engineers among the team moved quickly to a central console, their hands a blur as they worked to override the outpost's defenses. The rest of the team spread out, taking defensive positions. "Status?" Holt asked, keeping her rifle trained on the entrance. "Almost there," one of the engineers replied. "Just need to bypass their encryption." The sound of pounding on the barricaded doors echoed through the room, followed by the unmistakable hiss of a plasma torch. Holt cursed under her breath. "They're cutting through. We don't have much time." Back on the Resolute Dawn, Evelyn watched as the outpost's weapons systems began to falter. The constant barrage on her ship eased, giving them a momentary reprieve. "They're making progress," she said. "Prepare to target their fuel reserves once their defenses are down." Cole looked skeptical. "What if the reinforcements arrive first?" "Then we fight," Evelyn replied. "But we're not leaving without a victory." Inside the control room, the doors finally gave way, and a flood of Zareth soldiers poured in. Holt's team held their ground, their rifles blazing. The air filled with the acrid smell of burnt metal and the screams of wounded soldiers. "Hold the line!" Holt shouted, firing relentlessly. Behind her, the engineers cheered. "We're in! Systems going offline now." The lights in the room flickered as the outpost's defenses shut down one by one. The Zareth reinforcements faltered, their coordination disrupted. "Hold to Resolute Dawn," Kara said into her comm. "Defense systems neutralized. You're clear to engage." Evelyn's voice came through immediately. "Excellent work. Get your team out of there." The Resolute Dawn wasted no time. Its weapons lit up, targeting the outpost's exposed fuel reserves. Explosions rippled across the structure, sending debris scattering into space. On the bridge, Evelyn allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. "Holt's team is clear," Cole reported. "They're on their way back." "Good," Evelyn said. "Once they're aboard, plot a course out of this sector. The Zareth reinforcements won't be far behind." As the boarding pod docked and Holt's team disembarked, Evelyn met them in the hangar. Holt removed her helmet, revealing a face streaked with sweat and grime but lit with determination. "Mission accomplished, Captain," she said. Evelyn nodded. "You did well, Lieutenant. But this is just the beginning. The Zareth won't take this lightly. They'll retaliate," Holt agreed. "But let them. We're ready." Evelyn's gaze hardened. "They started this war. Now it's our turn to finish it." The Resolute Dawn emerged from hyperspace into the shadow of Zareth Prime, the Galactic Empire's capital world. The planet loomed ahead, its surface glittering with city lights and the faint glow of planetary shields. Surrounding it, a fleet of Zareth warships patrolled like predators guarding their lair. Captain Evelyn Drake stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The stakes had never been higher. If this mission failed, Earth's survival would be in jeopardy. "Status report," Evelyn said, her tone crisp. Commander Nathan Cole glanced up from his console. "Stealth systems are holding, Captain. No sign we've been detected yet." "Good," Evelyn replied. "Time to target?" 10 minutes, Ensign Liao answered. "We'll be within strike range of their orbital defenses." Evelyn's gaze swept the bridge, her crew focused but tense. She took a deep breath. Everyone, listen up. This is it. Our target is their central command node. Disable it, and we cripple their ability to launch coordinated strikes. Remember, we're not here to destroy their planet. We're here to send a message. Her voice softened. I know what we're up against, and I know what you've sacrificed to be here. But we've come too far to fail now. The crew responded with murmurs of determination, the tension easing slightly. As the Resolute Dawn closed in on the planet's orbital defense grid, Evelyn reviewed the plan one last time. The fleet would split into two groups, one led by Commander Cole, tasked with creating diversions, and the other under Evelyn's direct command, targeting the command node. Cole, Evelyn said, turning to her second-in-command, you'll lead the diversionary team. Draw their attention, but don't engage more than necessary. We can't afford heavy losses. Cole nodded. Understood. Just make sure you hit that command node, Captain. Evelyn smirked faintly. Wouldn't miss it. The assault began in a flash of light and chaos. Cole's group veered toward a cluster of Zarth frigates, opening fire with precision strikes. The enemy fleet scrambled to respond, their movements frantic as they diverted resources to counter the unexpected attack. On the Resolute Dawn, Evelyn watched the tactical display as her own group slipped through the cracks in the Zarth formation. The diversion was working. Enemy attention is on Cole's group, Liao reported. We've got a clear path to the command node. Proceed, Evelyn ordered. Deploy fighters to cover our approach. The ship shuddered as they entered the outer edge of the defense grid. Automated turrets swiveled to track them, firing streams of plasma that lit up the darkness. The Resolute Dawn dodged and weaved, its shields flaring under the assault. Shields at 70%, Cole reported through the comms. We're holding them off, but we won't last forever. Hang in there, Evelyn replied. We're almost in position. The command node came into view, a massive orbital station bristling with weaponry and shielded by layers of energy barriers. Evelyn studied the holographic display, noting weak points in the structure. Target their shield generators, she ordered. We can't breach the node until those are down. The ship's weapons roared to life, firing concentrated bursts of energy at the generators. The Zarth defenses responded with ferocity, sending waves of fighters to intercept. The Resolute Dawn's own fighters engaged them in a deadly dance, streaks of light crisscrossing the void. Generator 1 is down, Liao reported. 2 more to go. Keep firing, Evelyn said, her voice steady. We don't stop until that node is offline. Inside the command node, the Zarth forces scrambled to respond. High Chancellor Tarvex, watching from his throne-like command chair, snarled as reports flooded in. The humans have breached our outer defenses, an officer reported. Their main ship is targeting the command node. Tar's crimson eyes narrowed. Dispatch reinforcements immediately. And inform the fleet. I want that ship destroyed. The officer hesitated. Their tactics are unpredictable, Chancellor. Our forces are struggling to adapt. Then adapt faster, Tar hissed. I will not allow these vermin to make a mockery of us. Back on the Resolute Dawn, the second shield generator collapsed under the relentless assault. Evelyn's crew cheered briefly before refocusing. 1 generator left, Liao said. Evelyn nodded. Push forward. All power to forward shields. The ship surged ahead, its weapons blazing. The Zarth forces intensified their counterattack, their fighters swarming like angry hornets. Explosions rocked the Resolute Dawn, and the bridge lights flickered. Shields at 40%, a tactical officer reported. We can't take much more of this. Evelyn's mind raced. The final generator was within range, but the cost of reaching it was mounting. She gripped the edge of her console, her decision made. Focus all firepower on that last generator, she commanded. We finish this now. The ship's cannons fired in unison, their combined energy slamming into the generator. For a moment it held, deflecting the barrage. Then it shattered, fragments of energy dispersing into the void. The node is vulnerable, Liao said. Awaiting your orders, Captain. Target the central structure, Evelyn replied. Let's end this. The Resolute Dawn's final volley hit the command node with pinpoint accuracy. The massive station erupted in a cascade of explosions, its internal systems failing spectacularly. Zareth's ships in the vicinity faltered, their coordination disrupted. On the bridge, Evelyn allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction. Cole, the node is down. Disengage and regroup. Copy that, Cole replied. We're pulling back. Evelyn turned to Liao. Plot an escape route. We're not sticking around for the aftermath. As the Resolute Dawn and its fleet retreated, Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that the battle wasn't over. Tarvex wouldn't take this loss quietly, and the price of humanity's defiance would undoubtedly be high. But for now, they had struck a critical blow, proving that Earth was far from helpless. Evelyn glanced around the bridge, her crew battered but resolute. Good work, everyone. We've sent a message today, one the Zarth won't forget. Cole, returning to the bridge, gave her a tired smile. Think they got the point? Evelyn's eyes hardened. They got the point. Now we prepare for what comes next. The Resolute Dawn floated in the debris-laden void, battered but defiant. Fires burned in its lower decks, and sparks cascaded from damaged consoles on the bridge. Captain Evelyn Drake stood tall, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic display of Zareth reinforcements closing in. The odds were grim, but retreat was not an option. How long until the fleet intercepts us? Evelyn asked, her voice steady despite the tension. 6 minutes, Captain, Ensign Liao replied. They're bringing heavy cruisers and dreadnoughts. Evelyn turned to her crew. Then we have 6 minutes to do the impossible. The Resolute Dawn was now the spearhead of humanity's counteroffensive. Their mission was clear: hold their position long enough to deploy an EMP pulse to disable the Zareth fleet. The pulse generator was experimental, untested in battle. If it failed, humanity's forces would be sitting ducks. Commander Nathan Cole approached Evelyn, his expression grim. The generator is charging, but it's taking longer than expected. We're exposed out here. Evelyn glanced at the countdown timer on the tactical display. 3 minutes until the pulse was operational. We don't have a choice, she said. We hold the line. Even if it costs us the ship? Cole asked quietly. Evelyn didn't hesitate. If that's what it takes. The Zareth fleet arrived like a tidal wave, their sleek warships tearing through the void. Plasma bolts streaked toward the Resolute Dawn, lighting up its shields in a fiery display. Evelyn gripped the edge of her console as the ship shuddered under the barrage. Shields at 50%, Liao called out. Redirect power from life support on decks 5 through 7, Evelyn ordered. Prioritize shields and weapons. Cole raised an eyebrow. You're betting everything, Captain. Evelyn's lips tightened. I don't gamble, Commander. I make decisions. The battle intensified as the Zareth deployed waves of fighters. The Resolute Dawn's own fighter squadron scrambled to intercept, engaging in chaotic dogfights that filled the viewscreen with bursts of light and debris. Evelyn watched as one of their ships exploded, a silent fireball consuming a pilot she had just spoken to hours earlier. Enemy fighters are breaching our defenses, a tactical officer shouted. Evelyn's voice cut through the chaos. Deploy the turret grid. Keep them off us until the generator is ready. The ship's automated turrets roared to life, spraying the void with bursts of energy. Zareth fighters darted and twisted, but many were struck down, their wreckage scattering across the battlefield. Inside the Resolute Dawn's engineering bay, the pulse generator hummed with raw energy. Lieutenant Kara Holt oversaw the operation, her face streaked with sweat and grime. Sparks flew from a nearby console as her team worked frantically to stabilize the device. How much longer? She demanded. 2 minutes, an engineer replied. But the containment field is unstable. If we push it too hard, it'll hold, Holt interrupted. It has to. Her calm crackled to life, and Evelyn's voice came through. Holt, status report. 2 minutes, Captain. We're almost there. You've got one, Evelyn replied. We're running out of time. The Resolute Dawn trembled as another volley of plasma fire struck its hull. Consoles exploded on the bridge, and a thick haze of smoke filled the air. Evelyn coughed but didn't waver. "Damage report," she barked. "Multiple breaches on the lower decks," Liao said. "Structural integrity is at 40%. Focus on keeping this ship together," Evelyn ordered. "We just need to survive long enough." High Chancellor Tarvek stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the battle unfold with a mix of rage and grim satisfaction. The humans were stubborn, but they were doomed. His fleet outnumbered and outgunned them. "Prepare to board their vessel," Tar ordered. "I want their captain alive." An officer hesitated. "Chancellor, their ship, it's emitting a strange energy signature." Tar's crimson eyes narrowed. "Explain." "We're not certain, but it could be." The officer's words were cut off as the Resolute Dawn unleashed a desperate volley of firepower, striking one of the Zarth cruisers and sending it spiraling into oblivion. Tar snarled. "Destroy them. Now." Back on the Resolute Dawn, the pulse generator reached full charge. Holt's voice came over the comm. "Captain, we're ready!" Evelyn's heart pounded as she issued the command. "Fire the pulse!" A brilliant wave of blue energy erupted from the Resolute Dawn, expanding outward in a massive ripple. Zareth's ships within its radius flickered as their systems overloaded, their weapons and engines going dark. The battlefield fell eerily silent as the once mighty fleet was rendered powerless. Cheers erupted on the Resolute Dawn's bridge, but Evelyn raised a hand, silencing them. "We're not done yet. Target their flagship. Let's finish this." The Resolute Dawn turned its sights on Tar's ship, firing a concentrated barrage. The Zareth flagship's shields faltered, and for the first time, Tar realized he was vulnerable. "Retreat!" Tar roared to his crew. "Get us out of here!" But it was too late. The Resolute Dawn's final volley struck the flagship's core, tearing it apart in a spectacular explosion. Tar's reign ended in a flash of light and fire. As the remnants of the Zareth fleet scattered, Evelyn allowed herself a moment to breathe. Her crew erupted in celebration, but she remained composed. "Commander Cole," she said, turning to her second-in-command, "send a message to the fleet. Let them know we've won." Cole nodded, his expression a mix of exhaustion and pride. "And the rest of the Zareth?" Evelyn's eyes hardened. "They'll know what happens when they cross us." Hours later, the Resolute Dawn drifted in the quiet aftermath of the battle. Evelyn stood on the bridge, looking out at the debris field that had once been the Zareth's mightiest fleet. Earth's survival was secure, but the cost weighed heavily on her shoulders. Cole joined her, his voice soft. "You did it, Captain! Humanity has a future because of you." Evelyn shook her head. "Not because of me. Because of all of us." She gazed out into the void, her resolve unbroken. "This war isn't over, Nathan. But today, we showed the galaxy what we're capable of. And we're just getting started."